Welcome to Marvel Snap. I'm Captain Moron. I've been playing Marvel Snap for about 6 weeks, and I love it. Marvel Snap is a free-to-play game created by the company Second Dinner under the leadership of Ben Brode. You might have heard of him, one of the minds behind Hearthstone. Snap's been in closed beta now for about 6 months. Had an alpha testing period before that of about a year, as far as I understand. Global launch is this Tuesday, October 18th. See the description or comments for a link to pre-register. Overall, the game has some impressive design and dynamics. We'll jump into that a little bit. Marvel Snap takes place over 6 turns. Each turn, you have the same amount of energy to spend as whatever number turn it is. For example, you have 1 energy, turn 1, 2 energy, turn 2, 3 energy, turn 3, so on and so forth. Each game has 3 locations, and they're random locations with their own abilities. We'll dive into that some other time. But each of those locations can hold 4 cards. That's 12 potential slots for a card, which corresponds to the unusually small deck size in Marvel Snap, 12 cards. So, at the end of the game, whichever player has the most power at 2 of those different locations wins the game. Now, if nobody has more power at 2 or more locations, then it's overall power between all 3 locations that decides who wins. The developers go to great lengths to keep the cards balanced in Marvel Snap, and I love it. The idea is that every card can have a place in a winning deck. So on this channel, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build and run a single deck each week. I'll preview that deck, its anticipated synergies, potential weaknesses, and then review how the deck performed at the end of the week. So, I'm excited about the deck I'm doing to start. I'm going to be running a discard deck this week, and here's how it'll run. Blade, at 1 cost, 3 power. His ability, on reveal, discards a card from your hand. Morbius, at 2 cost and 0 power, has an ongoing ability, plus 2 power, for each time you discarded a card this game. Swarm, at 2 cost and 3 power. When this is discarded or destroyed, you play it, or you add 2 copies that cost 0 to your hand. Wolverine, at 2 cost and 3 power. When this is discarded or destroyed, it gets played at a random location. Gambit, 3 cost, 1 power. On reveal, it discards a card from your hand, destroys a random enemy card. Lady Sif, at 3 cost, 4 power. On reveal, discards the highest cost card from your hand. Dracula, 4 cost, 0 power. At the end of the game, discards a card from your hand, and it has that card's power. Red Skull, 5 cost and 15 power. Ongoing ability, however, is enemy cards at that location have plus 2 power. Hela, 6 cost and 6 power. On reveal, plays all cards you discarded from your hand to random locations. Apocalypse, at 6 cost and 8 power. When you discarded this from your hand, it gets put back with plus 4 power. And last but not least, the Infinite, at 6 cost and 20 power. If you played a card last turn, you can't play this. So, obviously up front you'd be like, why would you ever want to discard your cards? They disappear, because that is what happens. They're essentially gone from the game. The main win con or win condition for this deck involves discarding as many high power cards as possible, and I'm sure as you noticed, playing Hela on the final turn, which brings them all back at the same time. Obviously, the weakness is the possibility of discarding Hela. Let's say you start the game, you start the game with 3 cards in hand, you draw 1 before you start the first turn. Let's say you start with Hela in your hand. Every time you go to discard a card, it's random. You may have noticed for all those discards, just discard a card from your hand or discard the highest cost card from your hand. There's a possibility that Hela could get discarded. As soon as that happens, the main win con's gone out the window. But all is not lost, I've certainly found. The Dracula Morbius combo works beautifully, especially if you can manage to leave Apocalypse and or the Infinite in your hand as the last cards. So, one way to defend against discarding Hela as well is to save cards like Swarm or Wolverine, even if you might have the opportunity to play them. Because what happens later is, if they get discarded, Wolverine, for example, gets placed to a random location. You just got played for free and you didn't even miss out. Swarm becomes a 0 cost card and duplicates. And again, you didn't even miss out. And having more cards in your hand that aren't Hela increases the odds that she won't be discarded. So, that's all for today. Pretty brief. I'm super excited for Marvel Snap. Please comment if you have ideas for the channel, any kind of feedback. And see you next week. And remember, I'll see you on the ladder as well. I am Captain Moron.